Well, hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join me on this. So today I'm going to talk to you a bit about Cronofy, but really about kind of interview scheduling and how at Cronofy we think about interview scheduling and the time that can be saved and better spent especially by recruiters and hiring managers. So a little bit about Cronofy. Cronofy is a scheduling platform, and what that means is we are the kind of underlying technology that powers all sorts of scheduling use cases. So be that interview scheduling, be that online booking, be that sort of coaching marketplaces, that kind of thing. And historically, we've worked with a lot of SaaS vendors, a lot in the HR space, in providing the connectivity piece to people's calendars and all of the kind of capabilities about allowing candidates to put themselves in for interviews at times that work for the hiring managers or panels of hiring managers or even sequences of interviews. And to do this, we've really focused on the kind of enterprise problem around security and privacy. We're actually a European headquartered organization, and one of the benefits of that is we've always had to deal with privacy. It's kind of built into our DNA. And so this kind of how do we think about securing the lot of personal data that exists within certainly recruiting workflows is incredibly important to us, and kind of where that data is held in the jurisdiction, but also in such a way that satisfies the requirements of our customers and their customers' customers, IT security teams as well. And so things like ISO 27001, things like SOC 2, of course, we've grown up with GDPR, but we're also CCPA, HIPAA compliant. And to kind of give you an idea, this is some of the, you'll probably recognize some of these logos. These are some of the companies that are what we're working with, and we're kind of the underlying technology that allows them to drive scheduling within their applications. Now in that, whilst we are a technology vendor, what we've done is we've kind of gone very deep and into understanding the challenges around interview scheduling. And one of the sort of the key tenets of this, of any kind of a technology vendor providing a service like ours, is to understand the different use cases. And in scheduling, there are lots of different use cases. So we've run a couple of surveys. So one previously where we looked at the kind of the challenge for recruiters. We did a survey focusing on recruiters, and some really interesting stats. The kind of trying to book interviews when 61% of your interviews have panels of two or more people. It's hard enough booking one person, let alone booking two or three. The problems just kind of escalate, kind of square really in that regard. And there's lots of back and forth, and so we kind of heard this from recruiters, but we wondered what the candidates thought. And so what we've done very recently is we've actually surveyed over 2,000 US job seekers, candidates, about their expectations. So these are people who have had an interview or been looking for work in the last 12 months. So we also did 1,500 across Europe as well. And this kind of candidate perspective is really enlightening, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you some of the stats today, because this is really important context for the product demo, which I know you're here for a product demo, but I think this data is really important context for, and it kind of reinforces a lot of the design decisions and design principles we've taken, whereas we've built out our scheduling capabilities for recruiters and hiring managers to use. So a quick snapshot, the kind of people we're talking to, broadly equal on the gender front, 20 skewed probably to more senior positions, so 27% senior management, 32% middle management, and about 2/3 permanent. So that's kind of an idea of the kinds of people that we're speaking to. And I guess the standout stat really is like 51% of people have left an interview recruitment process because they were frustrated with the time it took to schedule an interview. That's crazy, because that's just like admin. That's you're just putting barriers in front of potentially great candidates, and they've gone, you know what? I don't need this. Someone else has done a better job than these other employers. I'll go through the process with them. And so, whilst on the one hand, we learned from the recruiters that this was a challenge for them. There was lots of work and admin, and it was tedious and time consuming, and it took time. And the candidates, on the other hand, are saying, yeah, it's pretty awful. And you know what? If it's bad, we're just going to walk away. And so really, this is where the scheduler idea for the scheduler came from. So as I said before, we're this underlying technology partner. So sort of tens of thousands of companies rely on Cronofy sketch technology to drive scheduling workflows, and certainly a good proportion of those are on recruitment. But not everyone has access to Cronofy technology. So what we've done is built the scheduler as a plug-in to Gmail, to Outlook, to be extended, and it's a browser plugin as well, and a whole set of APIs to plug into ATSs and other CRMs to kind of to basically bring this technology into the hands of recruiters where they need it. And to go through some other stats, I thought this was an interesting one, is that people are expecting to wait sort of 2 to 6 days to apply for a job and scheduling the interview. It doesn't feel like a great experience in this kind of, especially when you get to competitive roles, that the majority of people are saying, you know what, I'll give it a week and see. There must be ways we can automate that process. And what's really interesting is the kind of points of when people are going, we're going to give up. And so, yeah, certainly senior management, as you get more senior, there's less truck with waiting. 31% of candidates in senior management or higher roles would only expect to wait a day. And so there's no time for back and forth with emails and are you free, or let me block this time out and see that. You need to be able to do this immediately because you're in a competitive situation as a recruiter for these people. Now, there's a lot on this graph, but this again gives you a kind of another visualization of kind of when people are most likely to drop off. And we have to say that the younger the candidate was, the less patient they were with the process. So maybe older people are just kind of used to having to wait around, but certainly as you're looking to hire a young demographic, absolutely not. This is a generation who are used to getting things on demand. That they're used to having things available on their phone, and so connecting your hiring manager's availability with the candidate is super important, just to kind of close that gap. And what frustrates candidates, lack of responsiveness. It all comes down to communication. When it comes down, when we look at this fundamentally, it's like, are you communicating? Are you being responsive? Are you allowing people? Allowing people to drive the process on and be participant in that process before they get poached by someone else? And so this idea around how can you kind of make that super easy for everyone is a key part of what we're about. But I think the other thing we've seen is the personalization as well. There's a lot of kind of use of kind of online booking tools where you say, "Here, my link's in my footer," or "Here's my link," and you're asking in the recruitment space, the candidate to fill in their details every time. Yeah, they've already applied. You already know who they are, but you're saying, you know what, just book yourself in. You do the work, and do my admin for me. Whereas if you can kind of flip that on its head and say, well, actually, here's a set of times that work for you, and all you have to do is click twice, or we can find some other times, then that suddenly makes it far more of an agreeable process and a time saver for both parties, not just one. And I thought what we've done with the scheduler, we've connected it in with lots of different services. But what I thought was interesting about the survey was that 53% of people prefer to communicate via email. 50% prefer to communicate via text message. So email and text messages are still the kind of the forms by which people want to communicate. And so, embedding the scheduling process into that email flow, into that text messaging flow, is super important to kind of essentially giving the candidate the experience that they want. And we also ask when it was acceptable to use automation to accelerate the process. And absolutely, interview scheduling, yes, don't waste my time. Online tests, yes, don't waste my time. Video interviewing. So candidates actually are expecting a level of automation because they appreciate that these things, admin shouldn't be done by either party. And I guess, again, a really, really important stat here is the perception. And all this is driving a perception of the candidate with you as an employer. And 64% saying that a negative experience of interview scheduling affects the brand. And it's such an easy win that it'd be crazy not to affect 2/3 of that of the population. So I'm hoping that kind of gives you some context, and it's kind of the reasons why we've arrived at this tool and some of the ways we think about scheduling and what we've learned from working with some of the most advanced software companies in the HR space. But importantly, because we're kind of a horizontal provider as well, that we've learned about scheduling in all sorts of other sectors like healthcare, like finance, like legal, and kind of distilled this down into a set of capabilities that can be used both in the recruiting organization, but across the organization. So let me just switch over to a demo here. So what we're doing here is we're playing the role of a recruiter. So I'm in Gmail, inbox 0, go me. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite a candidate in for an interview. So hopefully you can see this. So I'm going to invite Sarah at .com. I'm going to be. Oh no, this is the problem when everyone's watching. My typing goes terribly. So you're just sending an email to you as we would do normally. We'd love for you to come in. Here are some times. Now, what the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice there's a little button down here. So I'm going to go in, click that button. And what that's done, this is our way into the scheduler. And it's picked up the fact that I'm emailing Sarah. It's got a name and her email address. So I can just go and create that link. And it's just dropped a link into the email and I can go ahead and send that. If I can go ahead and send that. If I go and look at what Sarah sees when she receives that, is a booking link, branded for my company. It's got her details built in, all the information about the conferencing. It picks up her time zone, and she can just go in and say, right, we'll pick Monday, 3 p.m. Done. That's it. That's all she has to do. And she knows it's for her. There's none of this kind of back and forth at all. It's super simple. And importantly, especially from a recruitment perspective, it's a one-time use thing. She can't go and do it again. So if she needs to go back, you kind of got control as a recruiter over the time you're sharing. And this is really, really important when you're sharing the time with, say, hiring managers. And so let's look at some of the perhaps advanced features. That's fine for that kind of initial screening call or initial meeting. But let's look at this and say, what about, let's try it. We need to involve the hiring manager on the call as well. So let's have Steve. So at evenatron.com. So we've got Steve's details there. Add Steve in and Gary. You'll notice here that Gary and Steve have green calendars with a tick on them. Now that means I've got access to their availability. So as we kind of scroll down to the other options here, you can see an availability preview. And what this is doing, this is actually going to share the links with Sarah at times that not only I can do, but both Steve and Gary can do. So that complexity of that kind of the panel interviews, we said like 60+% of interviews are panel interviews. Suddenly you can get the whole panel together in one meeting link, generate the link. Of course, live demos. Why wouldn't that not work? Generate the link, and Sarah then gets the times that work for her. And then if we say try another one, what we can do is say, well, Sarah, well, actually, you know what? Rather than just saying over the next 2 weeks, I want to set specific times. So let's go through to next week. And we'll say, you know what, I'm just going to offer Monday, Tuesday, create the time. And that's put in there. And if we go to that link again, those times. You've got so much more control. And this is the benefit of using a service that allows kind of these links to be generated on demand. So we focus so hard on making that super easy to generate, but give you that flexibility to tailor it, that we can make every link unique. So 2 clicks, it's the same kind of basic rules every time, but with a click and then a bit of manipulation, you can customize that for the hiring panel, the duration, whether or not you want to sort of Zoom or Teams added, what days or times you wanted, safe in the knowledge that at some point in the future, when Sarah clicks that link, it's still respecting everyone's availability. So that's all available from the plugin. We go to the web app here, you start to see kind of the more of these capabilities. So you can see the various links that I've created in here that they're pending. Where it gets interesting is, say, in the preferences. So usual things, which calendar should this go into? What conferencing provider should I be added? But this is where I'm setting my working hours. So, you can say, well, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do any interviews on a Friday afternoon. That's it. I'm not going to receive those. I want some buffer times around my interviews because I'd like to make sure I'm prepared. I'd like at least 4 hours notice. I can go ahead and save that. We looked at branding as well. Of course, you want to make sure that the branding's there. So there's full customization. Let's see, there's a nice preview down here. Where this also gets interesting is in connected contacts. So I've got access to Gary and Steve's availability because they're part of my organization. And this is kind of part of Cronofy's kind of enterprise experience. So we've worked historically with a lot of enterprise SaaS vendors. And so their customers are enterprises themselves, and they have kind of all sorts of requirements around IT and thousands of employees, and you can't do that kind of thing manually. So we're able to onboard entire organizations or groups of people and kind of synchronize the availability based on Active Directory group membership and everything you'd expect from a kind of fully integrated SSO service. But there's also a requirement. Maybe I want to get outside of my domain. So I want to say, well, actually, I want to work with some clients or some recruiters. So I can go ahead and I can invite someone to share my availability. And so what we've set up here is this ability to set up this kind of asymmetric sharing. So you can say, right, email your client, and then you can share your availability with them for a period, and also ask them to access their availability. Now, no calendar data is being shared, just availability. But it starts to allow you to include them within availability, within the scheduling links as well. So just in the same way as I have my colleagues, because they're all in the same domain, they can start including other people. So if you're an external recruiter working with your clients, this is a super way for you to kind of book interviews on their behalf, because you can get access to their availability and include that in the link as well. So, and then the other thing to kind of take you through really is on the extensions and add-ins. And this is where things really get interesting, because what you've seen here is our Gmail add-in, Chrome and Gmail add-in. We have a similar for Outlook. So it just sits there in Outlook, but also you can start to do automations with Zapier, tools for support tools like Zendesk, but also we have the full set of APIs for integrating with all sorts of other ATSs as well. And really ATS vendors have a choice. Either they can use our kind of underlying technology, or we can work with them to enable the scheduler as a kind of out-of-the-box experience for you to use and plug into the ATS from the outside. So that's a kind of brief foray into the world of the scheduler. You can sign up for a free account. Just go to the Cronofy website, and there'll be on the homepage you'll have the option to get the scheduler there and really start exploring how it could be used to kind of optimize your workflows and create that better candidate experience. The other aspect of this that we've done a lot of work on recently is what we've seen is relatively simple workflows right now in that demo, but we're seeing a lot of companies move to what we call interview sequences. So this idea that in a competitive environment, you want to get the candidate through the process as quickly as possible. So back when we were allowed to go to offices, people would come in, candidate would come in, or now they'll have like 3 or 4 different Zoom calls over the period of a day to assess different aspects of their capabilities. But importantly, you're just getting them through the process. Now, we're working with a big software vendor at the minute on their internal hiring, so they're multi-thousand person organization. And what we're doing for them is taking our sequence availability API and embedding it within the scheduler as an interview option that can be given to a candidate. So what they've been doing to date is they've got a candidate for a development interview, and there's 3 different interviews that candidate needs to have. So what they're doing is they're asking the candidate for some essentially mornings or afternoons that they're available. And then the recruiter is back and forth with the groups of people that can do the 3 different types of interviews and kind of trying to work out with kind of Excel spreadsheets and craziness what times they can offer the candidate. And then they go back with them with a series of bookings. Now, what we're able to do with our APIs is automate that entire process. So if we see here in this interview, we've got the kind of technical group, the work history, and the culture. There are, say, 10 different people that can do each of those interview types, and some of them overlap. What you want to be able to do is say to the candidate, okay, here's some times when there are sufficient people to do these 3 interviews in the predefined sequence, or actually in this case, they're happy for it to be a flexible sequence as well. So you kind of miss out that whole step where the candidate is kind of offers some dates and says, okay, let me know when it is. And then the recruiter's frantically going around and emailing people and trying to hide it all from the candidate, trying to be this, if you like, the graceful swan on the water, and the recruiter's the legs underneath paddling away furiously. What we've done is connected the candidate directly with the availability of the 3 groups of people, and are able in real time to show them times that will work for all of those people. And there's all sorts of heuristics around, minimum time between interviews and that kind of thing. And this is everything we've learned by working on these problems. But then be able to embed that into the scheduler workflow. So you email the candidate, is this interview type, and the whole process is automated from now on in. Is a massive time saver for the recruiters. And this is where Cronofy is, the scheduler is again a framework upon which you can build these scheduling workflows. So we've now provided the kind of plumbing to get it into Gmail, Outlook, and other ATSs, and we have all the capabilities in our underlying infrastructure to basically provide these custom workflows that work for your organization. So I guess what I'd like to kind of finish up on is a couple of our happy customers who have kind of been using the scheduler, and kind of their thoughts and how they reflect on how they use the scheduler. Well, that was a shame. It seems that the audio of that video didn't pipe through to the live stream of this video, but everything else seemed to go okay. So sorry about that, but rest assured that yes, they were very, very happy and thought the scheduler was amazing. So thank you for your time. Love to have any questions. I see that there's been a few in the chat already. Far away. Okay, well, that seems to be it for the session. So thank you all for your time. You can visit cronofy.com to get access to the scheduler. Love to hear your thoughts, and good luck with all your recruitment.